Welcome back. So we are currently doing our 16th best player in the NBA in our top 25 list. So Davis, who is your 16th best player or next available, whatever you have there?
My next available player is Paul George.
All right.
I had him at 15. And I have Karl Anthony Towns, which I know you have next at my 20 spot.
Okay. So I
Wait,
have at 15 Karl
yeah.
Anthony Towns, and then my next one after that would be Paul George. For me, the reason why I have Cat so high, and I know I have him higher than a lot of people, is I mean, in terms of an offensive skill set for a center, he's the best in the league, in my opinion. I mean, in terms of what
I think Jokic,
I think Jokic brings more because of his passing, but in turn, more of
yeah,
like
which is an offensive skill.
that KD aspect of like in your offensive game of like, well, excluding passing in terms of just like your offensive skill set of like the shots you can make on the floor and the things you can do. I think Cat's the best in the game in terms of that. I mean, he's a 3-level scorer as a center. He's the best 3-point. I think I'm pretty sure he's a better 3-point shooting center than Jokic in general. They're close though, but I just think Cat is so gifted offensively. I know there's a lot of concerns with his defense, and I know he's been improving that every year since he's been in the league. For him, I just think it's staying healthy and getting some more help. You're not going to have to fight me too hard about moving him farther down my list just because I know I did have him a little bit higher than other people. So I am okay with putting Paul George here at 16.
Right, we love two-way players here on
Of
this
course, of
this
course.
list.
Is
So
it
Paul
well?
George will slide
Is
into
it
our
Paul
16.
George now, or is it still Pandemic P? I'm not sure.
Oh, the world may never know.
The
The world
world
may
may
never know.
never
No
know.
one knows what they're getting from Paul George on any given night. It could be one of like MVP looking Paul George or just where on the map, where's Waldo type of situation.
Yeah,
Is he even on the
it,
roster?
it could be
Type of,
opening night versus the Lakers and he drops like 30 something, or it could be their 51-point historic loss to the Dallas Mavericks where he goes 4 for 18 and drops like 15 points. Who knows?
yeah.
So then at 17, who would you have?
Well, theoretically, I have Donovan Mitchell here.
Okay.
However, I know from what we've talked about, you're not very high on Donovan Mitchell.
Not at all.
So my next available player after Donovan Mitchell is Ben Simmons. Do you have Ben Simmons
So,
coming up soon?
yes, I have him coming up pretty soon. So my next available, so I have Cat, and then my next one would be Devin Booker.
I have D Book at 21.
Okay. I have so here I'm gonna name off like my next three available because I think that might be a little easier. So I
God,
have
you really don't like two-way players. I have Donovan Mitchell and Ben Simmons. The energy from Russell Westbrook, over your guys like D
I
Book
wouldn't
and Cat
consider
that have no
Donovan Mitchell
two-way.
like some sort of like elite 2-way guard or something like that. I mean, he's serviceable on defense.
Yeah, he's more than serviceable. He was in the top 20 for steals.
I
It's
mean,
pretty
most
good for a
most guards are
guard.
pretty good for steals, but so my next three would be Cat, Devin Booker, and then Ben Simmons.
All right, so let's do. What about? Would you be okay with Cat, then Ben Simmons, then Booker, or are
Yeah,
you
that's
very
fine with me.
rigid
I'm fine with
about that?
that. I'm fine with that.
All right, so we'll do Carl Anthony Towns, Ben Simmons, only because of the two-way capabilities of Ben Simmons.
Of
Only
course,
because
of
of that.
course.
So
And
who did I
don't
say?
forget about Ben
Cat, Ben Simmons,
Simmons.
and
Yeah, don't
Devin
forget about
Booker.
Simmons' elite shooting as well. I mean, that's
Oh,
another really good thing.
absolutely.
So then who do you have as your? I mean,
I
we
mean,
could.
Donovan Mitchell
We can.
needs to
Okay,
be
well, who's
slotted
your
somewhere. 20
who
is
would be your
fine.
next one instead of Donovan Mitchell?
Well, D Book just got off the boat. Russell Westbrook.
So my next one is Bam.
Bam is a snub for me.
No. Okay, well
I
here.
don't have any more centers on my list. He's my next available center, right
So
over Rudy
Donovan
Gobert.
Mitchell, I'll go ahead and go into it. I have him at 25. I have him barely getting in here,
Oh my
and
God.
it's
Oh my
I
God.
honestly
That's blasphemy. Don't do
I
this to our
don't what do you
listeners.
see
Don't do this.
I don't know what you see in him. I mean, he's a good guard. Like, he's going to be like a really like one of the better guards in the NBA in the next few years. But he's not a. I mean, he's barely getting in a top 25 for me. I mean, there's other people that I think he is very much competing with at this spot. I mean, he's fighting with Brandon Ingram, Chris Middleton. Those are a couple people that got snubbed off my list. Rudy Gobert. I mean, I don't
I
know
mean,
what it
Rudy
is.
Gobert's not the best
What does
player on their
Donovan
team.
Mitchell
Donovan
bring?
Mitchell's
I don't know what Donovan Mitchell like does for his team that puts him in that top 25 category. He's not like an amazing defender. He's not the most efficient scorer. He's not like an elite facilitator. I mean, he's a good player in the NBA, and I don't want to take that away from him. Like, he's a very good guard in the NBA. I have him at top 25. I just don't. I kind of find it so surprising that you had him so high because outside of last playoffs, I mean, when have you looked at Donovan Mitchell and said, yeah, like this dude is like an elite player in the NBA? I haven't seen it.
just
He's
about
decent in
every
the
single
regular
night I
season.
watch him play.
He's decent in the regular season. He's
I mean,
not amazing.
he's averaged over 23 and a half points a game the last 2 seasons. I don't think you can just look at that, scoff at it, and say, oh, he's not even a good player. I
I'm
mean,
not
I
saying
know
he's
you're
not a good
acknowledging he's a
player.
good player,
Yeah.
but I think he's one of the I think he's in a position with the Jazz that doesn't afford him as many opportunities as some of these guys on this list. If you put him or just about anyone on this list into Trae Young's position last season on the roster that they had, yeah, they're going to be averaging 32 points a game. No problem. Ain't no problem. I think if you put him in Bradley Beal's position, like I was saying earlier from last season, absolutely,
I
he's
don't think
averaging
he
a ton of
would.
points.
He's already top dog out in Utah. He could take he already has the ball in his hands all the time. He can go out there and does what he wants. He's just
If
not the
he's
most
top dog
efficient guy.
in, so
He just
Rudy
doesn't put up
Gobert
the
better
numbers.
not be on your list. If Rudy
Rudy Gobert
Gobert's
is
on
not
your
on my
list,
list. He's not on my
perfect.
list.
Okay, perfect.
No, Donovan Mitchell is by far the best player in the Utah Jazz. I completely agree. I just don't
And
like
they're
when I look at Donovan
they're a
Mitchell.
solid playoff team every year.
When I looked at my list and I started making it and I looked at all like the players on there, like the other people I've left on my list, Donovan Mitchell is not better than any of those guys. He's not. Now, I'm okay with moving him up because I know you have him so high. But when I look at the other 5 guys I have left, he like at the end of the day, I'm not going to take Donovan Mitchell over any of those 5.
I think okay. I'll tell you. I think I came up with a kind of good analogy for why I like Donovan Mitchell. So growing up, playing some Nintendo games, right? Anytime you do some like Nintendo sports with Mario, Mario is that character you pick when you want a little bit of everything, right? He's just baseline, above average in every single stat. And I think that's kind of where Donovan Mitchell falls. I don't think he's exceptional in one area, which we see from a lot of these guys. Ben Simmons on the defense, Jimmy Butler on, his ability to draw fouls, Kyrie Irving and his handles. A lot of these guys that we have, a, higher in this list are, the experts on one specific skill set, and that's what really elevates and sets them apart. I think Donovan Mitchell is a person that's similar to Mario in some of those Wii games growing up and the Nintendo games, in that he's very good, consistent on almost any skill set that you would ask of an NBA player. I think he's a worse shade of Jason Tatum in a lot of areas, which isn't a knock on him. Jason Tatum's a top 11 player in this league, as we both came to the consensus. But, I don't know. I don't see any real holes in his game, which I think is something to be said for, because a lot of these players that we're kind of getting into the realm of right now, you can kind of pick apart certain areas of their game that are weaknesses and kind of hold them back. And, being one of the top 6 teams in the West, the last couple seasons, and him being the sole, as we just both said, he is by far and away the best player on that team, on a team that for some reason is deciding to pay way too much for Rudy Gobert, has a little bit of suspect decision making. Quinn Snyder's a good coach, but I still think that he is not as big of a benefactor in this system as he could be in some other systems. And I think overall he doesn't really have a lot of holes in his game. And so, that's why I'm pretty high on him. David, are you there?
Out there for a second. Yeah,
Oh,
can you hear me?
yeah.
There we go.
You cut
Yeah,
out.
my internet sort of lagged out there real quick. But I mean, I understand what you were saying there with Donovan Mitchell, and like, I get it. It's just like, I mean, for example, like you said, you don't have Bam on your list. Like to me, Bam is just a better player than Donovan Mitchell. He does more on the court. He doesn't put up the points per game numbers that Donovan Mitchell might, but I mean, for being a top dog on a team that's consistently top 4, top 5 out in the West, I do think Donovan Mitchell is someone that should be exceeding and excelling in the numbers that he has. And he does have a good supporting cast around him. Like, I mean, they do have Jordan Clarkson, they got Bogdanovich, they do have Gobert, Mike Conley, etc. But at the end of the day, I just think, I don't know, there's just something about Donovan Mitchell. He doesn't have like that it factor for me. He doesn't have that star potential. He doesn't have that guy is going to win a championship one day. Like to me, he's just not that guy for like, in my opinion, he's not someone that just has that it factor. I don't know what it is, but that's just the reason why I have him so low.
But we saw Bogdanovich was out for the playoffs and the Orlando bubble last year. And what did Donovan Mitchell do in some of that absence and scoring?
I
He
believe he
lit it
lost
up.
the series.
Oh my God, he did. Yes,
Blew a 3-1,
but
right? He blew a 3-1, right? Just want to make sure.
just like the Clippers. Yeah, you can compare the Jazz to the Clippers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, I mean, him and Jamal Murray were battling. That was one of the most fun series I've ever watched, just in
I would
terms
agree.
of two players going back and forth, battling for, their team, putting their team on their back. And if that doesn't classify as having the it factor, I don't know what does. It's
But
blasphemy.
at the end of the day, that's also a first round 3-1 blue lead exit. I mean, in your heart, would you place a financial bet that Donovan Mitchell would like win? And again, it's so early, but like be like the number one option on a championship team. And I know we're getting to the bottom parts of this top 25, but at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, he's putting up these crazy good numbers, but I mean, so did Jamal Murray. Where the
I
hell
don't
is
think
Jamal
anyone.
Murray this season? Where the
I
hell was
don't
Jamal
think.
Murray last season?
I don't think anyone after probably, top 11 on our list are guys that are able to carry their teams to a victory. I think, you can kind of pick apart this list and say, okay, I don't think that's extremely ridiculous to say. You gave a very big facial reaction for our Spotify audio listeners.
Are you saying on the teams they are right now that these players win? Because I'm saying as an individual player, if we could put like, and obviously not like a psychotic team, but like
Right.
a good team that could make it to the championship, could this player be the best player on a championship level team? I don't think
Correct.
Donovan Mitchell can be. I think Donovan
No,
Mitchell
I
is
don't
your
either.
okay.
I
Then why do
think
you have him
anyone
at
after
4?
11 can't.
So Jimmy
I
Butler.
think these are all
You
guys
don't
that
think
are
Jimmy
great
Butler can be your
secondary
best player?
options.
Do you not think Jimmy Butler can be your best player?
No.
Oh my God! No, Davis. No. I mean, we're gonna have to agree
Hey,
to
he
disagree.
he didn't win a championship. Okay, let's look back at the previous like 12, 15, 35 seasons and the championship teams and who's won and if they had a top 10 player in the
It's
league.
to me, it's not just if you want a championship level team. Is a team that, at the end of the day, they have the capabilities to
I'm not
win
talking
a
to okay,
championship.
okay. I get where you're saying, and I'd agree with you there. I thought you were talking about teams that not only have the capabilities, but then end up executing. I think
No,
our top 10 players are, you can shuffle them around onto any team, put a good supporting cast, and they can get you into the finals. And they need some of these other guys as their second best option to help them put them over the edge. And that's why we've seen LeBron James and Anthony Davis go out and dominate last year because they had two top 5 players on their team and they didn't really make it very close. And, Luka's a top 10 player. He could have some, you know, he doesn't necessarily have, another top tier guy around him. And that's why his team doesn't, get as far into the playoffs. I think it's very, very easy to say, Giannis hasn't had the same level of success as LeBron because Giannis does not have that second fiddle right next to him. I don't think either of us are going to have Chris Middleton on our list. We'll see. But I mean, they have good players and good team compositions around them, but they don't have that second fiddle that, a Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving do, or, back in the day, LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, or, Well, Kawhi with the Raptors was a little interesting, I guess. He didn't
Yeah.
necessarily have that.
So in terms of
But
second options, would you if you're like if you're making a championship team and you need the number 2 option on your team, your second best player, would you choose Donovan Mitchell over Bam?
oh, 100%.
Okay.
You don't think an Anthony Davis, Donovan Mitchell lineup could win a championship? I think that would be
I'm not saying
disgusting.
it couldn't, but I do think in like a LeBron Bam or a Kawhi Bam. I mean, AD and Bam obviously are both big men, so I'm trying to like separate that a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
But like, I think if you toss here, I think here's a good example. Would you rather have like a Steph Bam or actually? Well, it's hard to compare because Donovan's a guard and Bam's a center forward. But I don't know. I just think Bam does so much more for a team because to me he's a less scoring but more defensive minded Jokic in terms of like he
No,
runs
I
their
agree.
offense for them and he's going to win a defensive player of the year multiple times
Yeah.
probably. But I'm okay with putting Donovan at I'm thinking we're at 20. Is that right?
Yeah, we're at 20.
All right. I'm okay with putting him there. I'll move him up. So
Perfect.
then
I love the concession there. Finally,
perfect.
6 spots down from where I had him, but
All
we'll
right. So
take
then
it.
who would you put at 21?
Let's see. My next available player, I still have Russell Westbrook available. I had him at 19 on my list.
So I
I
have
think
Russ at 20. I have Russ
I
at
honestly
22.
think I think Russ, there's an argument for him to be a top 15 player in this league.
I think
I struggled with him more than a lot of these players because you know,
I think he was the hardest to place on this list.
like because we've talked about, you know, some of our top 15 players, we put them there because they're able to dominate on any given night. And Russell Westbrook's able to go get himself a triple double any given night and is like I love the energy that he brings on both ends of the court. He plays every game like it's his last basketball game. You know, he might not be the best ball. He might not be, you know, the best facilitator on offense and, you know, make the best decisions. But I love the heart and energy that he brings. Talk about a perfect matchup. What if he was able to end up going to the Heat one day? Just like towards the end of his career. I think kind of that mentality that the Heat try to cultivate in, you know, what they bring in their culture would coincide very well with the end of career Russell Westbrook and kind of try to help mold him into getting him into maybe a championship team. But you know, Russell Westbrook's a guy that's never going to win a championship. I think that's pretty safe to say, unless he ends up, you know, getting a vet minimum later in his career and you know just goes ring chasing like some of these old players do.
Which I don't
Um,
see him doing, by the
I
way.
don't
To
either.
me, that's not his
He loves
personality and his
stats.
play
Yeah,
style. Yeah, it's not his thing. The reason why I have Russ at 22 and not at 19 like you do is although he ended last year on an incredible run and he was putting up like amazing stats, I've just been so concerned with his ability to not put up empty stats. I
yeah.
mean, at what point are these triple doubles going to turn into like actionable things that is going to cause this team to actually succeed and win games? I mean, again, I don't want to talk too much about this season. It's like 4 games in, but like the Wizards have Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, and they're 0-4. That should not happen ever. Like that's absurd to have. You have 2 all-stars on your team, and you're 0-4 to start the season. That's kind of ridiculous. And he's also, I mean, Russ hasn't been playing that well. He's been putting on some triple doubles and amazing rebounds and assist numbers, but again, that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of that's just empty stats. And so that's my big concern with him is at what point, if ever, are we going to see him win games? I think we're starting to get to the point where I think in the next couple of years, once this contract's up, I mean, I think he's going to be out of the league in like 3 years, something like that. Because as I just said, I don't see him being one of those guys who fits into that off the bench mold and can like sort of ring chase in that sense. He's not someone that's going to do that. He doesn't. He's someone that needs his ball in the hands and needs to play a lot of minutes and get those rebounds and those assists and those numbers. And off the bench, he's not going to be able to do that. And so that's just the one thing I'm concerned with and why I don't have him at 19. I have him at 22.
I mean, I have those same concerns about Karl Anthony Towns as I do D'Angelo Russell and some of these other guys that, you know, they're just kind of putting up some empty stats and not really able to elevate their team a whole lot, you know. And I still think I don't know. I think the energy is the difference maker for why I have Russ a little bit higher. But I will say I never really even considered this because I don't really, um, think about 4 or 5 years from now, kind of what type of role Russ could be embracing. But if he's able to ever like concede from his ego a little bit and accept a 6-man role, he would be absolutely disgusting as a 6-man off the bench, just in terms of the energy that he's bringing, just
He could win
attacking the
six
rim.
man of the year.
Oh
He
my
really
God.
could.
Oh,
He really
absolutely.
could. I just don't know if he's not someone I would ever see accepting that role.
Right,
I just
right.
don't think that's his personality. Well, who do you have after Russ? Like, who would be your next one be after that?
I have Devin Booker, then Brandon Ingram.
Okay, so I had Brandon Ingram snubbed off my list. Now, I am not against putting him on because he's like my 26.
Sure, sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
hold on.
Bam
Why don't
Adebayo
you
is my
out,
26.
out of the five you have left, I guess we should just rattle them off to see real
If we have
quick. So,
any similarities.
yeah,
Yeah, so I have Russ, then D Book, then Brandon Ingram,
we
Pascal
already used Devin
Siakam.
Booker on our list,
Oh
I
yeah, we
think.
did. Sorry.
No, you did.
So Russ, Brandon Ingram, Pascal Siakam, Chris Paul, Trey Young.
Okay, so I have Bam, Trey Young, Russ, Zion, Chris Paul. I know Zion's the one you're going to be upset with.
Zion.
I know Zion's the one you're going to be
Zion.
upset with. I know.
Holy cow.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Okay.
we both have Chris. So where do you have Chris Paul?
24.
I have him there as well. So you want to go ahead and notch that in?
Oh, baby, this is
Sort of
gonna get
working a little
spicy.
backwards.
Oh
Or
yeah.
maybe not 24. Do we want to do 25? Because I think we have other players we're going to be
Yeah.
fighting in there. So let's put him at 25.
I like that.
Okay, so you have.
I'm also okay. So I know you were saying you're okay with bringing Brandon Ingram into your list. I'm also okay with bringing Bam into my list because he
I'm
is my
okay
next
with
available
dropping. I'm
center.
okay with dropping Zion off my list for Brandon Ingram.
So
I'm
do you
okay with
want to
that.
put Bam at 24? Because I think he deserves a spot because he is my next available center.
That's fine.
I
We can
just
put
don't
Bam
have
at
a lot of
24.
centers on my list. Okay. All right. So you have Devin Booker on your list, right?
We already have him on our master
Oh
list.
God, well, yeah, I have him as D
So
book, and
so
so I
so
keep overlooking him.
for 21, 22, and 23, we should have Russ, Trey Young, and Brandon Ingram. Not necessarily in that order, but those three.
Okay, so I like Russ over Trey Young just in terms of Trey Young is also. Oh,
I have Trey
I need
Young
to be
above
careful with
Russ.
what I
I have
say.
Trey Young above Russ.
I don't want to just be overreacting to 3 games this season in terms of projecting Trey Young on this list because theoretically this should have been recorded before the season started.
Uh-huh.
However, I agree Trey Young is off to a phenomenal start this season. I'm not
Is
gonna throw
my bold prediction of Trey Young finishing top 5 MVP voting might not be so bold pretty soon. I don't know.
I think it's still extremely bold and absolute blasphemy.
I don't know if
Hey,
the Hawks get that
I
top four
think
or
my
five
dark
seed.
horse pick of Jokic winning MVP is looking more
That
realistic
is
than your
looking
Trey
good. It's
Young
looking
one.
good. The Nuggets need to win some games, but
Absolutely. So because
I
both of us
agree with you. I
have
don't want to overreact too much to this. I mean, it's only a few games in, but again, it's just
so,
I
since
think at the end of the
Brandon
day, if I have Trey Young and Russell Westbrook, who do I want to pick? I'm taking Trey Young. I think he can. To me, he's what Russell Westbrook was like 3 years ago, and not necessarily in the rebounds, but in sort of he's the centerpiece and the go gadget of your team,
the
and
go
the
gadget, I
go
love that.
gadget. So yeah, I just think Trey Young. I mean, the dude's gonna be averaging 30. He's probably gonna be averaging at minimum 30 and 9 this year. He's probably gonna be up to like 32 points a game. And I don't know. I just think Trey Young has that edge for me over Russ.
Well, I'm okay with putting Trey Young over Russ.
So we'll do
For the
Trey,
sake of the
Russ, and
list.
then BI.
Yeah.
All right. Now, do you want to read off the whole list or just this
Let's
section?
go over our notable snubs that we have
Okay,
fallen out of
yes.
our list.
So I got Gobert. Gobert's a big snub for me.
Yeah, he is my second center. Because I didn't have Bam on my list, I had Bam at 26, then Gobert, then Jamal Murray. But in terms of not making our list, I also had Pascal Siakam
Yep.
fell out of top 25, which is a little wild
He was a
considering
snub for me too. That was a
where he was at
little
last
difficult
season.
to make.
Zion, we were just saying he was on your list. I think it's a little premature still to be putting Zion in any conversation.
I
Um,
think Zion and Ja were two
I still
on
have Ja
my.
over Zion personally.
I think also prayers up for Ja. Let's hope he returns
No
healthy from
kidding.
that left ankle sprain. Did not
Yeah,
look
yeah.
pretty, but
I think they already put a timetable on it, 3 or
yeah,
4
it's like
weeks.
I think it's like 3 to 5 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. So that's good. That
But I
wasn't
just
season
think
ending.
the reason why I had Zion in there, and I know a little bit of it's just like fan bias, but just the way he affects the game, it's hard for me to put into words. Like the defenses are just so centered around him, and like everyone on the court knows he's going to go to his left. Every single person, and no one can stop it. And oh, guess what? You partially blocked the shot, or you played good defense and he missed. Guess who's getting the rebound? Zion, and he's putting it back because he's got in my opinion, arguably the second best jump, like the best second jump in the NBA. I think he's
Oh, I
so
agree.
fast and effective with that second jump. Um,
But I
that's the only
think
reason I
we
had
see
him
a
there.
lot of
I don't blame you. It is a little premature, and I think him and Ja are both players that at some point in their careers, again, Zion's a lot harder to project because of health concerns, but I think they both, without a doubt, have the talent to become top 12 players in the NBA. I don't think that's
yeah.
anything outrageous.
Some things that I really want to see from Zion to be able to make this step into the top 25 for me are one, for him not to be going for the highlight blocks. It seems like a lot of times he gets burnt by smart shooters because he tries to close out on the corner three and he'll be jumping at it and they all know that he's about to be jumped, so they just do a little pump fake, drive around him, and Zion looks like he's playing garbage defense because of that
Yep.
half the time. And also if he's able to, increase his motor a little bit more, to be given full energy on defense in the transition, especially
He
because
needs to be better at defense.
we see guys like LeBron or I don't know, Bam, I guess you could say, or Kevin Durant, that kind of pick and choose their times when to kind of explode in the transition to try to get that chase down block. And we don't see that as much from Zion as we could. And I think that's a lot because, he'll get very gassed at his current state, and then he'll be, kind of ineffective in the next 2-3 plays in the half court offensive set. I
Mm-hmm.
agree his offensive skill set's there, but there's still a lot of little things on the defensive side that he showed a lot of flashes on at Duke that he hasn't really been able to translate those levels to the smarter players in the NBA. Some other
I do think Van Gundy is a coach that can sort of
Oh, I
help break
agree.
that out for him because he is a defensive minded coach. And so I do think if there is anyone that can sort of help improve his defense, because I agree, I think right now his two biggest holes are free throw shooting and defense. I don't even give a crap about the 3-point shooting. He needs to be better at free throws, and his defense is definitely lackluster this year, and last season as well. So, but yeah, go ahead. And who's some of your other snubs?
Kyle Lowry, Chris Middleton,
Middleton's another one for me.
Drew Holiday, Shea, Kristaps, Jaylen Brown, Jamal Murray, De'Aaron Fox, Zach LaVine. They're all kind of in that mold.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good players in the
Sabonis.
NBA. Sabonis was a
Yeah.
one I almost put in the top 25. And a big reason for me is recency bias with this season so far. He has been disgusting. He's been like Jokic disgusting. He's like,
Oh,
it's weird
absolutely.
because him and Jokic are like athletic wise different. Jokic is a better shooter, and Sabonis is a little bit more of a aggressive, stronger finisher around the rim. But Sabonis has been out of his mind this year in terms of his playing. The Patriots have been really fun to watch. But yeah, no, there's a lot of players that I think were really hard for me to keep off this list.
Victor Oladipo is looking
Victor
looking a lot
Oladipo been
better than
looking
people were
nice.
thinking.
He
He
been
wants to get
looking
that
nice.
bag, baby.
Yes, he does. All
All
right, do
right,
you
so
want to
I'm
read
going to
off
read off
the
our
whole
list.
list? Yeah, read it off.
Absolutely. So we have Giannis, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Kawhi, Anthony Davis, James Harden, Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Dame. That's our top 10. At 11, we have Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, Jimmy Butler, Brad Beal, Kyrie Irving, Paul George, Carl Anthony Towns, Ben Simmons, Devin Booker, and rounding out our top 20, we have Donovan Mitchell. Our 21 through 25, wrapping it up, Trey Young, Russell Westbrook, Brandon Ingram, Bam Adebayo, Chris Paul. That is an amazing list.
That's a beautiful list.
Phenomenal.
I think that's the
Wow.
best
We
top
did it
25
again.
list I've ever heard.
Another banger. Another banger.
Of course, of course. All right, and with that, that wraps up our episode. Peace.
Peace.